good. Good morning, welcome on this last chapel of the semester, our annual Kwanzaa chapel. You'll have to excuse me, I'm trying to make my voice come back after a week of not having much of a voice. Dear ones, we're so happy that you are here. It is, like I said, the last chapel of the semester. It is our annual Kwanzaa chapel, and today it is Wintlett's last Kwanzaa chapel, and so we are celebrating and feeling sad with her all at the same time. And we are so grateful for you and for your sharing today, and for all the students who are making this service happen today. I have just a couple quick announcements. One, as you're coming in on the little podiums, there are bulletins that have our responses and hymns in them, so feel free to grab one. And if we run out of chairs on the stage, feel free to pull one up and join us. Out in the CFL lobby, you have a variety of Christmas food donation boxes that were decorated for this past Wednesday's event to stock our little free pantry. We had an overwhelming number of donations. We are so grateful for this campus and its generosity. Now is the extra fun part where we get to vote on the best decorated box. So if you didn't do it on your way in, on your way out, swing by, look at the boxes, and vote for your favorite. There is a very special prize on its way for the department that gets the most votes. Our very last College Ministries event of the semester takes place this Sunday evening. It's our annual candlelight worship service right here on the stage in this space. 8 o'clock Sunday evening, bring blankets, pillows, whatever. We'll kind of spread out and sit on the floor as you feel comfortable doing so. We'll light candles. We will hear familiar readings for the season, sing some favorite Christmas carols, have a really cozy way to close out the semester, cookies and hot chocolate to follow. So that is Sunday night, 8 o'clock. That is all by way of full announcements. Again, I want to say thank you to all of our student leaders today and our student musicians for making this such a beautiful service. As we begin, I invite you to turn to the front of your bulletin as we join in the Kwanzaa greeting. Joyous Kwanzaa. Habari Ghana.
These are the 7 principles of Kwanzaa and the candlelight. Umoja, unity, to strive to maintain unity in family, community, nation, race, and the world. Only by having strong families and creating a community will African Americans be able to maintain unity.
Kujichagulia, self-determination, to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves, instead of being defined, named, created for, and spoken for by others. People must stand up for themselves. They must tell others what they want. They must not let anyone else decide their future.
Ujima, collective work and responsibility, to build and maintain our community together, to make our sisters' and our brothers' problems our own problems, and solve them together. We must take responsibility for our problems and the problems of those around us, and help each other solve these problems.
Ojamama, cooperative economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, to control the economics of our own community and share in all of its works and wealth. We must support African American businesses, and African American businesses must support the African American community.
Near purpose, to make our collective vocation of the building and the development of ours, to store our people to the traditional greatness. African American must make it the purpose to maintain the dignity of the ancestors. It is important to maintain families, build communities, attend colleges, and open businesses. The purpose must be to claim our rightful place in the world.
Kumba, creativity, to do always as much as we can, in the way we can, in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. Our ancestors made music, dance, and created beautiful works of art. We must work to make our community proud. Imani, faith, to believe with all our hearts in our people, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. We must walk by faith and put our trust in the spirit and power that is greater than us.
Good morning. As Pastor Melissa said, this is a joy and a sorrow. I'm glad I'm going. But there's so much I'm going to miss about the people and this place. But it's time. Kwanzaa, a celebration of community and heritage. Introduction. One of the benefits of a long tenure is the history that you have been privileged to witness and be a part of. Kwanzaa celebrations existed before I came to Luther. It was organized by Dr. Lawrence Williams and the Africana Studies Department. Neither Dr. Williams nor the department is still with us. A short walk down memory lane. My first Kwanzaa celebration was organized by the then Multicultural Center, student workers, and myself. We celebrated in Marty's way back in 1999. Some of you weren't even born. It was truly a multicultural event, as students from different cultural backgrounds did all of the planning and the execution of the event. I have many fond memories of the early years when students and staff cooked together in the cafeteria and peace kitchens, of our interactions with the dining service staff who had questions about the what, how, and why of our cooking. As we cooked together, we shared stories about ourselves, our foods, and our cultural celebrations. We laughed a lot, and for those of you who really know me, this is not surprising. We created Americanized versions of many traditional food favorites typically found on the African continent and in the diaspora, and which are a part of Kwanzaa observance. I still remember the performances from the student-led gospel choir that was a fixture on many Kwanzaa programs. I also remember the students who shared their talents, singing, dancing, drumming, stepping or strolling, and reciting the poems they had created, to name a few. I remember the years when students from Upper Iowa came to Luther to join in our celebration because they didn't have one of their own. I remember the professional performances from the South African group 2911, who first joined Kwanzaa singing along with the gospel choir, and then by themselves, sharing their gifts of music with us. I recall when there was money in the budget to pay for speakers. One speaker whom I still remember is Dr. Ronald Rashan, who at the time was professor at UW-La Crosse. He was extremely surprised and impressed with Luther's multicultural Kwanzaa. Dr. Nave explained, and I quote, "The celebration of Kwanzaa on predominantly and historically white colleges provides an opportunity for students of various racial and ethnic backgrounds to understand the principles of worth, value, and human dignity promoted by Kwanzaa. It provides an opportunity to use African American cultural experiences as the lens through which to examine and reflect upon the values and practices of our broader society, especially when such practices devalue the lives of certain groups of people." I also remember conversations about whether Kwanzaa was still relevant. The question raised was whether or not the diversity of African cultures was being erased and ignored with a reductive, essentialistic list of 7 allegedly universal African principles of the Nguzo Saba. Initially, I agreed with this sentiment, but as I have continued to celebrate Kwanzaa, and I've continued to learn more and more about the anti-Blackness racism in America, I've come to realize that the principles are neither reductive nor essentialistic. Instead, they have allowed me, in the words of Dr. Nave, to use African American cultural experience as a lens through which to examine and reflect upon my own practices and values and those of the wider society. This means that my understanding of the principles have become more nuanced and complex, and every year is an opportunity to create new meaning. I remember having conversation with students, including many African Americans, explaining the what and the why of Kwanzaa, and having to reassure the ones from certain Christian backgrounds that this was not an attempt to erase Christmas or to substitute something else for Christmas, and that it was perfectly okay to do both. This idea is in keeping with the principle of multiple belongings, a term I learned from Dr. Garion Koff. Multiple belongings is the idea that we have different connections with different things and ideas, and how understanding this brings us closer to those who initially may seem different to us or from us. I also have some not so fond memory, when trying to recruit students to participate was a pain in you-know-where, for a variety of reasons, and of the very limited engagement of many of my faculty and staff colleagues. Now, a few thoughts of my own on each of the principles. Unity. One of the challenges of working in the field of DEI is getting marginalized people and allies who are on the same journey to understand the importance of uniting in face of various forms of systemic oppression, in spite of conflicting values, and in spite of conflicting values. This type of unity requires, among other things, the ability to tolerate ambiguity, to manage our cognitive dissonance, to try to understand the other, and to practice cultural humility while pursuing what we at Luther call the common good, provided we can decide what that is. Obviously, we have a lot of work to do with this unity thing. Self-determination, who am I? Just think about the power we have when we can use our freedoms, thanks to the ancestors, to define ourselves, name ourselves, and speak for ourselves in whatever context we find ourselves. This is easier to say than to do. 2 points I'd like to make here. One, my mother. She was the most influential person in my early life in helping me to develop this ability. She sent out a lot of conflicting messages, especially about my role as a woman or girl or whatever, or female, but she was constant about one thing. I was to take advantage of every single educational opportunity that was presented to me so that I would grow up to be an independent, self-determined person. It was her dream, and she was so proud when I graduated from grad school, because she said, yes, you're on the way, keep going. The second thing I want to say is that living here, I've learned to do something which Dr. Sheila Radford Hill called playing with your identity. So, depending on who I'm with and where I am, I change how I define myself, speak for myself, and I consciously and deliberately choose to do this in this way. It's my choice, self-determination. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. This principle reminds me of a Jamaican proverb. One finger can't catch lice and one hand can't clap. You can't do anything by yourself. I grew up in rural Jamaica, the sixth child of 11 siblings. With such a large family, everybody had things to do, and we were responsible to each other and to our parents. This is where I first learned that we have inherited the benefits that our parents and foreparents created, and that we too must contribute to our own benefit and the benefits of others. My family experience is not unique, but as families have gotten smaller and more scattered geographically, as our world is becoming more materialistic and individualistic, we're losing some of these values associated with UJIMA. UJAMA, Cooperative Economics and Justice. I'm not only a country girl, but I'm a first-gen college student, and I'm proud of it. The main occupations in my small village were small-scale farming, shopkeeping, household help, casual laborers, those people who went around offering their services to people who could pay them. My parents were crop farmers, and they exchanged some of their produce with the farmers, the animal rearers, so that we could get milk, meat, eggs. There was also the practice of swap labor, helping each other to build homes, a room at a time, without using the formal banking system and getting those horrible mortgages. For me, UJIMA and UJAMA were very present in these practices. It was equitable, it was just, and everyone's needs were being met. So now that you know this is what my early life looked like, you're not surprised that I would do something like a book fund. It's the brainchild of Michelle Boyke and I, even though my name is the only name on the stuff, I suppose because I'm the one who keep pressuring the alums to contribute, but that's okay. I do this to my own child as well, who's an alum. Purpose, Nia. Whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might, for there is no activity or planning or knowledge or wisdom in death. Ecclesiastic 9:10. This was one of my mother's favorite Bible verses, and maybe you can guess why. I am blessed, very blessed, to have found a career here that combined my experiences, knowledge, and passions into one that brings me joy and fulfillment. It's purposeful work. It was, is, and will continue to be purposeful work. It's what keeps me sane from tearing out my hair when things go awry and I don't get my way. Purpose allows me to laugh heartily and often, to share what I know, and to keep learning as I go on this journey. Creativity. This principle too reminds me of another Jamaican proverb. Take your hand-turned fashion. Use what you have available to create something new that you need. It got me thinking about my strengths, you know, those top 5, whatever. And my consistent 2 are learner 1, ideation 2. Sometimes I try to think about whether I started this way and then my experiences made it true, or the opposite way. But it's okay, I don't really. It's a both and situation. One task you have when you're leaving a job is that you have to clear out your own rubbish to make space for the other person's rubbish. And this is both a sad and a happy occasion. And the happy part comes from seeing the things I did over the years. I'm going, oh my, I did that, really? Who was this person? And from that, I recall many things, but especially the J-term class that I created with a number of faculty colleagues that took us to Jamaica between 2009 and 2019. I remember working with 7 young women to create Beta Theta Omega. I remember working with 3 students to create the Model United Nations Club. So I haven't wasted all of my time. Faith, belief in oneself, in others, and the rightness of the struggle to create a more just world. I moved to the Decorah with 2 teenage children, no job, no idea of what we were getting into. I cannot say if I saw myself as a female Abraham going off to a new land, although in his case, he was obeying God's instruction. I, on the other hand, was listening to my 14-year-old son. I was either a fool a person of faith, or both. The jury is still out. But I've decided that I was a foolish person of faith. Why else would I have chosen to remain in this community and college for more than 2 decades? Clearly, I had things to do in this place, although I didn't know it then. I have faith that my retirement will provide opportunities for me to do other things. Everyone needs faith, no matter how weak. One lesson I have learned very well from my journey, both in Jamaica and here, is captured in another Jamaican proverb, "When no dead, no call it uppy." As long as you're alive, there is hope and you can make a difference. Walk good, my friends. Everything Irie.
And now as we receive this blessing, hear it upon all of you as we go forward into this day and these next weeks. And Wintlett, hear this blessing especially upon you. Family of faith, God has shown you what is good. Do justice. Love kindness. Walk humbly. In word or deed, do everything with gratitude. May God make you steady in faith, full of hope, and abounding in love and joy for the sake of the well-being of the world. Amen.